Sometimes we make a mistake, you and me, us hyper political people, us people, we people, I don't know how to say that. I went to community college, whatever. You, me, we pay attention to politics. We know what's going on. We know the players. We know everything. But as I was thinking about this inflation news from today and the consumer prices, it occurred to me that there are times when I miss the real deal, the big deal, where you miss the real deal, the big deal. In this way, I want to explain it in this way. So we talk about the newest headline every day, the newest scandal, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Trump, and all those things, they matter. They're important. What we talk about matters. I'm not putting us down, but we lose sight of the fact that every American citizen, old, young, left, right, middle, black, white, Christian, Muslim, whatever, every single American citizen is currently watching their life, I don't want to say go away, that's too dramatic, but their standard of living is going down. And many Americans are drowning. And we get so lost in talking about the latest bill and taxes and things that gets lost on us. And here's why. Have you ever heard this situation? I'll make it about sports. Here's why this happens to us. Barry Sanders, you remember who Barry Sanders was? If you're old enough, you remember, of course, who Barry Sanders was. He was this amazing running back for the Detroit Lions. And so every now and then it would happen, the Lions would finish a game and they'd lose, and they'd look at the stat sheet and the fans would be yelling the whole game, "Give Barry Sanders the ball!" And they'd look at the plays and Barry Sanders touched the ball 10 times. And then someone would go to the coach and he'd say, "Hey, coach, he's like the best player in the world, and you only gave him the ball 10 times. And the coach really didn't realize it. Well, I mean, I had studied so much film, and if you really do this and that. Whereas the people in the stands, they weren't involved. They could see because they were on the outside. Give Barry Sanders the ball. The coach was such an expert, he didn't know. That's what we do with politics. Because right now, people are drowning. This is not something that's coming in the future. Right now, low-income people are drowning. I want you to think about it this way. American citizens and their income level, think about it like a vertical stick, right? And so the bottom, it's the poorest ones. The top are the richest ones. The water is currently rising, and there are so many people who are already underwater and not making it right now. Maybe that's not you. Maybe it is you. Maybe you're barely making it. Your head's just barely sticking above. Poor people, older retired folks on fixed income, they're already underwater. But it's coming for all of us as the waters rise. 2.9% inflation. Okay, that's the nerd number. That's the number year over year. Set that aside because they lie about everything. Here's the real number. Gas is up 50%. 50%. This is just in the past 4 years. 50%. Electricity, 32%. Producer Matt, just dropped 900 bones on an electric bill. Think about that. Groceries up 21%. Oh, and this all comes with earnings. What you're making is down 3.9%. Okay, those are numbers and percentages and nerd things. Set that aside. What that means is people aren't making it. And aren't making it, it means different things to different people depending on how hard this is hitting you. For some people, and I'm not dismissing this at all, for some people it means no family vacation this year. I'll tell you, we didn't grow up with a bunch of money, but we went on a family vacation almost every year. Sometimes I was driving down to Myrtle Beach for a couple days, but as a family would take a vacation, time off, time with family. Families are canceling that. They can't do it. Adult children are moving back in with their parents. Parents, retired, that Social Security check isn't cutting it anymore. The part-time job isn't cutting it anymore. They're moving back in with their kids. This is not something that's coming. This is happening right now. This might be happening to you right now. I have a listener to my show, an older couple, farm couple. They're selling off everything they have. They've officially maxed out every credit card, trying to get through until the end of this. But the end isn't coming. And it won't be an event anyway. We're not going to wake up tomorrow morning and, wow, inflation's way down. That's not how inflation works. We've printed and spent too much money. Now it's going to take a lot of pain, years of it, to get back. And that's if we start doing the right thing now, and we haven't even begun. Listen to this woman in Philadelphia. Listen to her suffering.
How hard has inflation hit you?
It hit me hard. It's hitting me hard.
Who do you blame for it?
I blame the federal government at this point. If a working class mom who works as a paralegal cannot buy a $2 bell pepper because it's now $5, imagine a mother living on food stamps. Imagine a mother who's making minimum wage trying to feed children. They're killing us without killing us. If you understand that. They're killing us without telling us they're killing us. They're hurting people in ways that they can't help themselves. It's either feed my child or how about feed my children and I don't eat, but I have to go work.
$5 for a bell pepper. Maybe you heard that and maybe that resonated with you because you're going through the exact same thing. Maybe you heard that and maybe it brought home to you what others are going through because you're blessed enough financially that you're not going through that yet. But you should understand that stick, the income stick we talked about, the waters are rising. Now, 40% of Americans worry about paying the bills. 40%. Credit card debt has hit an all-time high, $1.14 trillion with a T. That doesn't mean people are buying Lamborghinis, although I'm sure there's some of that in there. People are maxing out their credit cards to make ends meet, to try to get through it. Now, this is the part, I'm going to pause on all this for a second, and I'm going to discuss something. There's understanding there's a problem, and there's understanding why there's a problem. Buddy of mine was at a party. Daughter was inside making bacon. It was a pool party. Everyone was outside. It's hot here in Texas. Everyone was outside. She was inside making a big old batch of bacon to go with everything else they were cooking, just on the frying pan on the stovetop, right? We've all done it. And bacon gets done. She takes her little fork or tongs. She picks all the bacon up, puts it on a plate, brings it outside. Everyone's outside, right? Woo-hoo-hoo. She brain farts it and leaves the frying pan on. So there's no one in the house to smell the smoke as things start getting smoky. And there's no one in the house at first to see the flames that begin to grow on the stovetop. Finally, someone looks in, oh my gosh, the house is on fire. Now, here's the thing. Everyone can run inside, and they did, and notice. Everyone can see the smoke, the flames. Everyone knows things are on fire. The question is, how do you solve the problem? There will be some people in there who believe you solve it by filling up a jug of water and dumping it on there, which of course will only make a grease fire worse. And then there are others who know to grab the fire extinguisher, some baking soda, whatever, to put out a grease fire. Back to the economy. Everyone knows, Republican, Democrat, rich, poor, top, bottom, middle, everyone knows things are more expensive and things are bad. That's not the problem. The problem is how many people understand it's the government's fault. How many people understand that it's that $1 trillion bill you didn't really care about? That's why you can't afford eggs. It's the money printing by the trillion. That's why you can't afford your power bill. The United States government's spending and printing is the reason your life is more expensive. And unless your cries of pain are also matched or also paired with cries to reduce government spending, then you aren't trying to solve a thing and nothing will change. And how bad are people suffering? Well, this is probably the biggest thing for me. Because it's one thing to get these new reports all the time. Oh, inflation's 2.9% and power's up 32%. It's one thing to nerd out on details. The details that matter are details like this. In recent weeks, we've had gigantic corporations like McDonald's and now Home Depot coming out and saying people aren't shopping. And I need to explain this. These big mega corporations, they track everything. When you get to that level as a company, you have entire divisions of people dedicated to tracking everything. They understand that in July of 2022, they sold 24.5% more wood screws than they did of July in 2021. They understand every comparison, every chart, every graph. They chart absolutely everything. And Home Depot says people aren't spending. People aren't buying those wood screws anymore. McDonald's has come out and said people aren't spending. McDonald's, for basic low-cost items, people aren't spending. And it's not just where we're at. It's that nobody is currently bailing the water. The water levels are just rising, and they're all adding to it. In the meantime, we might be 90 days away from Kamala Harris being elected president, God forbid. But if we do, look, this is the woman who might take over the reins.
Economy is one of the voters' top concerns. Obviously, polls out today show inflation is slowing. Yeah. Why do you think, though, with recent polling numbers, that potentially the policies maybe aren't resonating with some of the base or some of the Americans here in the United States?
Listen, first of all, I think that we know that it takes time for people to feel the policies.
Of course, they're not going to own anything. They're certainly not going to change anything. They'll just give these completely dishonest answers. Oh, you just need some more time. Give it some more time. Don't worry that you can't afford to feed your family. And look, this is why I know it's a nerdy thing. I know a lot of people don't talk a lot about spending. There are sexier topics, but I've been screaming about this forever. For years, I've been saying stuff like this. The GOP lined up for the last 4 years. 4 years. And voted yes, and voted yes, and voted yes, and voted yes on multiple, massive spending bills. Truth is, no one cares. And no one's going to care until the whole house of cards come crashing down. And everyone's going to look around and they're going to say, well, how'd this happen? How'd this happen? Now, well, here's the hard truth of it. Talk about making you uncomfortable. Here's the hard truth of it. When that happens, you and I will both have to go look in the mirror and say, that's on me. I never demanded better. So I never got better. You get what you get. Don't throw a fit. Is spending an issue for you in this election cycle or any election cycle? When your Republican congressman, senator, president, when he signs $1 trillion bill, do you get mad or do you make excuses? Well, that's the reason you can't afford eggs. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.